NBC News has learned a New York grand jury has just voted to indict former President Donald Trump. It's the first indictment ever of a former U.S. president and could have a major impact in the 2024 race for the White House. The investigation centered on Mr. Trump's alleged role in 2016 in a hush money payment to former adult film star Stormy Daniels, who said she had an affair with Mr. Trump in 2006. That payment was made in the final days of the 2016 presidential campaign by Michael Cohen, Mr. Trump's former lawyer, who after the election was reimbursed by the Trump Organization. Joining us now is NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett. Laura, lay it out for us.
All right, Lester, obviously a seismic development here, a historic development. Never before have we seen a former president indicted in the United States of America. Now, we have not actually seen this indictment. We believe it to be still under seal there in the court in Manhattan. But we now have three sources confirming that the grand jury has, in fact, voted to indict. We also have two sources confirming that Mr. Trump's lawyers have been informed that this grand jury has voted to indict. Now, typically, the defendant gets an opportunity to surrender in a case like this. Obviously, Mr. Trump had forecasted that he would be arrested in some respect. We have no evidence that that has taken place. But the typical scenario would be for he to actually surrender at the district attorney's office. At that point, he would be processed, fingerprinted, mugshot, all of the typical processes that you would see in a regular case. Even though, of course, this is not the regular case, we do not have any timing on exactly when that processing would take place.
Now,
Lester,
the indictment itself, will it be sealed? Will we not perhaps see the details of it for some time?
It's typically sealed until a judge actually orders it to be unsealed. So it gets sealed. It's actually with the court right now.
And that would specify what the actual accusation is.
That's exactly. That's when we will actually see the piece of paper that will actually lay out all the charges. Sometimes they go into great detail. That's known as a speaking indictment, when it provides somewhat of a narrative, sort of telling the story of what happened. Sometimes it's very bare bones, and we'll have to wait and see what this one does.
We have been hearing that the legal theory, the legal basis that the DA has been looking at is one that's untested. Yes. What do we know about what the challenge was in this case?
So typically in a case like this, the falsification of business records, that's typically a misdemeanor. So we're talking just up to a year in prison. In order to elevate it, to step it up to a felony, there has to be actually a second crime, an intent to either commit or conceal a second crime. And throughout this entire investigation, we've all wondered, what would that second crime be? Could it be something related to state election law? Could it be something related to federal election law? We just don't know. And it's one of the things that we're going to be looking for when, in fact, this indictment gets unsealed.
So a question that essentially centers on how that money was accounted for, what it was stated to be used for, and what the intent may have been for its use.
Exactly. So it's not actually the paying of the hush money that's the crime. The problematic issue here, if in fact that's what they've indicted him on, is the way that it was accounted for on the books of the Trump Organization as legal fees, when in fact it was not legal fees to Michael Cohen, his lawyer at the time. It was hush money.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.